So this is the first meeting for the 5-minute production app. And our goal is to make it easier to do development with for anybody. And one big inspiration for us is Heroku, how easy they made it to get started with an app. However, there's a few problems you face if you want to get started today. I still think Heroku is a great place to start an app. It's the best place. We want GitLab to be a better place. And that means that not only is it great for the development app, but it's trivial to have a production app. You shouldn't be limited to Heroku infrastructure, which is much more expensive than the cloud providers. And in the end, you want to host your app on a hypercloud if it gets popular anyway. And you want to have flexibility that if you want to change the CI or CD thing, it should already be structured in the right way. The modern way to develop apps is on a hypercloud with GitLab by using a technology called Terraform and using managed services of those hyperclouds. Those managed services are especially important if you run a production app. You don't want to be managing your own database or your own Redis or your own object storage. So we want to make it so that someone who's already signed up for AWS or GCP can go to GitLab.com, create an account, start an app, and have that production ready and up in 5 minutes. That's our project. It's called the 5-minute production app, or our theme song is Little Mo. So we want to do a Little Mo for developers. And Dimitri is now going to give a short demo of what he's done so far. And Sri is in here to help us further full-time during the quarter. And Michael's going to help us reach our audience and have some people rooting from the sidelines. Dimitri, take it away. Thank you.
Thanks, Sid. Yeah, I must note that most of the work was done by Sri due to my illness. So kudos to him. But yeah, let's get started. So first of all, it's still day one. So there are quite some manual steps involved, but I still think it's worth showing. So what we usually have when we start with a web app, usually what you need is a database and the application itself running. So if we speak in the infrastructure of Amazon, of AWS, it's, let's say, EC2 instance and RDS instance. Both of those instances have free tiers, so that should be interesting for developers since it allows them to run their first app at minimal cost. So we started with this project, 5-minute Docker. The naming, yeah, it's just random, but idea is here we define a, oh, wait, sharing the screen. Yep, now much better. So we started with a simple project that has few key elements. It has a CI YAML file, which contains stages of deploying the infrastructure, building your application, deploying it, and it has infrastructure file, which is a Terraform file, which creates corresponding EC2 and RDS instances. And if we just go to the README here, yeah, there's like two requirements that we should start with, that you have a Dockerized web application. So having a Docker file pretty common these days, and your web application should be expected to run port 5000. However, this can be customized. So let's start with with creating a new project. As a Rails developer, I like it to be Rails. So let me just use GitLab templates and make a Rails application just to make it faster. And I'll let it call DZ Rails test 5-minute. Like I have quite a few test examples already, so need to be creative with naming. For now, we'll use a public project. So let's start with it. As you see now, GitLab created for us a new Ruby on Rails project. It's all here. So we can start with that. Let's see if we can deploy it with our 5-minute production app initiative. So first thing first, let's check the requirements. They have that says that you should have a Docker file. So let's create a Docker file then. I'll just use as much GitLab help as possible. So I use a Docker file, Ruby template. Now it asks us to be on port 5000. So I'll just change it here right away to save us some trouble. Okay, now we have a Docker file. So that should make the application runnable. What else we need? We have it on port 5000. Let's move to the next step. So yeah, this README describes that by default, the infrastructure contains of EC2 instance and DB instance, both of them T2 micro, which are in Amazon free tier. So it won't be expensive. Now, because it's still early in development, we need to have some credentials set up. So we ask user of three variables: access key, secret key, and the region. Those variables you get on AWS console websites. I prepared them in the Visual Studio for me right from the start. So let's go and set them. We set those variables in project settings, CI/CD section. Here we can add variables. Let's go. We need AWS key, AWS secret key, and region. Let me start with region. I will use EU West 2 since I'm in EU location. So I'm adding AWS region. Now I need secret key. I'll mark the variable since it consider it as a secret, and we need the last one.
We are live streaming this, so you might want to reset everything after you're done, Dmitry.
Yeah, of course. Otherwise, I'll have a build tomorrow. Okay, so that's pretty common procedure. So every time you work with Terraform, every time you work with whatever the code that builds infrastructure, you usually need access key, secret, and region. So that should be pretty familiar to user. So we have those variables set. We have a Docker file. Now we need GitLab CI YAML file. In future, we hope it to be part of existing GitLab template, maybe within after development, maybe a variation of this. But for now, we just...
Yeah, I think it should be part of Auto DevOps that, hey, if we find you have those AWS things set, we'll just use this instead.
Yeah, yeah. For now, for a speed of development, we just using
makes total sense.
Yeah.
We have an entire quarter to get there.
Yeah. So it's as easy as including these 2 lines, which basically says that, hey, take the CI YAML template from this project that we are using right now and We commit the changes. And after that, we should see a pipeline running. And it has 3 stages. Yeah, don't put much attention of the naming or anything, but AWS provision job, what it does, it will run Terraform and deploy your infrastructure, your EC2 instance, your RDS instance, all is going in this job. At the same time, another job happening, Docker build, which is exactly the same job as build in AutoDevOps. It takes your application and just creates a container out of it and stores it in GitLab container registry. So before we do a deploy, 2 things need to be done. We need our application container and we need infrastructure in place. Terraform run can take 2-3 minutes, so we would need to wait for that.
Cool. And we appreciate our viewers not using these credentials to start the Bitcoin miners just yet. So can we talk, since we have to kill some time, I think so far I've made some notes. I think there's 4 things that, like, first of all, I'm super impressed with the progress so far. So this is super good. Things that we still have to do, and we have a whole quarter to do this, but integrate this with AutoDevOps, get the AWS credentials from AWS and put them in CI variables like automatically or something. Get the URLs and such from the Terraform run and put them in CI variables, and allow people to sign into GitLab with AWS. Those are some things that come to mind. What do you think, Dimitri?
Yeah, the reason why I'm not focusing on those things is that it will require some GitLab work, which, I'm using 3 knowledge as, for Terraform, for AWS, for all that expertise, and that's why we're doing much of the progress in this direction. I think of course, creating those CI/CD variables is a known part, but it's a known concept yet for developers. So even if we release or the first iteration is like that, it's still useful for developers because they can, they can get those variables pretty easily from AWS, and from there on, like the most complex part of actually deploying, we do that. Second is login with AWS is one thing, is getting our OAuth token and linking account. Second one is that for the project, we would probably want it, we want to get those key and all those values specific for a project or for a group. So you can, have multiple projects using 5-minute production app, not reusing the same credentials.
You need to create an IAM user and the whole thing.
Yep. Yes. So for now, we just relying on our users to to manage that. But it's it's a lot of at least I think it's a lot of work, and it won't give us such immediate benefit like those Terraform scenario and GitLab YAML that you can include.
Yeah, let's focus on that first. I totally agree with your with the order in which you're doing it.
So AWS provision succeeded, Docker build succeeding. So now it's trying to deploy our application into the EC2 instance that it created. How application would know how to connect to the database? So we're using a usual generic concept of database URL environmental variable. And what happens here in the deployed job, we have EC2 instance running. we install Docker there, and then we run your container image inside Docker on this EC2 instance, and we pass a database URL to it, which we know from the Terraform script that was happening in the previous build when we provisioned RDS. So,
wow, you're already getting data from Terraform back into GitLab CI variables?
Yes.
Sweet. That is pretty sweet. Well done.
Thanks, Sri, for doing that. It was, pretty fast on solving this issue. So the job seems to succeed, and that means that we should be able to check our application now. I'll just go to operation environments, and I would see our environment here from branch master. And if I press the button open live environment, it will says that you are on Rails.
That's crazy good.
And that means that our application is running, and that means that it also connected to the database. Otherwise, there would be a database timeout exception from Rails. So on this note, I'm going to pause the demo and give it back to whoever is next on the agenda.
Well, I just want to first congratulate Sri. Like, that is really cool. I think that getting the Terraform data back and then using that for the subsequent runs is one of the most pivotal parts, and I'm really impressed that's already done. Sri, I want to give the floor to you. Anything you want to add or celebrate?
No, just thank you. I must tell you that I cheated. So I did not do everything in 1 week. I had a working example in the past, so I just used most of that. DZ also had a lot of examples here and there, so we just put them together and we have this.
Awesome. What I think we'll do this call on a weekly basis. What can we expect next week? What's the ambition?
So there are a few things. One of them is we want to further improve DB migration support and DB initialization. So
that's great. What is the second thing? The utilization?
Not utilization, initialize. So DB initialize.
So the
DB
setup
migrate.
run and the migration run. Yeah, great.
Yeah. So we want to have this. We already have some progress on it, but I'm not. It's not completely finished. So DB initialize, DB migrate. That's what we're looking at for next scene, and we also want to give our users ability to change their instance types through the variables in CI YAML file. So let's say they overgrew T2 micro and they want something bigger. They need a way to just change from T2 micro to T2 large, commit, made a commit, push it, and have Terraform rebuild the infrastructure with larger instance. So we want to look at that, and there are some polishing still need to be done. There are few issues that I noticed that can occur. So that's the plan. And
that's really awesome.
And there's of course further plans, like we want domains, we want SSL, we want a lot of stuff. So that's further ahead.
Great. Yeah, and maybe other services like Redis and S3 as well.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great. Other frameworks, maybe make it work with a node thing.
It works with a node.
Okay.
Works with a closure. It works
maybe if we do the DB migrations, that's going to be real specific. But good point that today it works with any framework.
I tested it with Clojure and Rails, and Sri tested it with Python and Node. So we got projects running with the same amount of efforts.
That is very promising. Anybody else who wants to add something?
No, I just dropped a link to the README, which contains examples across different languages and frameworks. The README also contains kind of like a step-by-step guide on how you can actually work with it. Let me actually share my screen and see if I can walk you through that. All right, so the idea should be that you can just read this README and that should be all you need. So you don't need to speak to DZ or myself to get this working. We looked at the steps that DZ performed, but is basically create a project, set up the AWS credentials, and then include a pipeline. Then we looked at what each stage and each job actually does. That's been explained here as well. Just a few things that weren't mentioned. We already support multiple environments per project. So right now, if you spin up multiple branches within your project, so for example, master for the main branch, but also you can have a staging branch or a review app branch, all of that will work. It is going to create new infrastructure and deploy a fresh instance of the app in a new environment per branch. That's that. Database URL is being passed to the application in each case. You can also define the two environment variables, DB initialize and DB migrate. It doesn't work perfect right now, so we trust you to not try this, or try it, but expect issues. But it's something we're working on. What else? Yeah, you can customize the port. So for example, if you, for whatever reason, don't want to run on port 5000, you can change that. Here you'll find a few examples, Ruby on Rails Closure, Node and Python with Flask. Just a quick document on what we want to do long-term. Like, I guess the goal is parity with AutoDevOps in some sense. The biggest of that would be having domain names and SSL working really smooth. Then probably you want to roll back deployments. That needs a lot of thinking, but it's supported in AutoDevOps, so the expectation would be that we support it here as well. Link the logging and monitoring into the operations tabs that we have already. So I don't know if that is possible, but then to set a really ambitious goal, it'd be nice to try and do that. In terms of integration with existing GitLab stages and features, we integrate with the environments, we integrate with container registry, we integrate with the managed Terraform state. What we can quickly do, which will be like an easy win, is to include all the code quality scans and security scanners and the testing and all of that. So these are jobs that are created for AutoDevOps, which we can just include right away. We kept it for the end for a reason. And finally, there are like a bunch of AWS free tier services, which we can add support for. So a lot of things to work with, but then like DZ said, the first goal is to get the DB initialize and migrate working, and then build on that step by step.
So
Sri, I'd like to actually collaborate on the adding the security scans and items to this 5-minute app. So I actually created a Flask application for this very reason, for testing out all of our security scans. So I've linked that there with you. And if you get some time later on next week, we can talk a little bit further about that once the DB migration is complete, making that easier.
Yeah, thank you. Perfect.
Can we just delay all the security scans and everything, because this is like a bit out of scope, and this is something that we can do as a last stage when we introduce it to the GitLab.
I think instead of getting the security scans into this, let's get this into AutoDevOps at the end.
Yeah, that's
that should be the ambition, not like another template we have to maintain. We already have problem between our default templates and AutoDevOps. If we create another set of templates for 5-minute app, we just made it worse. Cool. This is very impressive. Our mission is everyone can contribute. I'd encourage Sri some proposals. Instead of having the sub-project Sri stuff, maybe just move all your stuff to the root of the 5-minute production app, have an issue board, link it from the README, and then consider setting up a Slack channel or a Discord channel that you link from the README as well, so that people can engage, so that we grow a community around this.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, DZ, I'll let you move the project to the right place because I think
Yeah, I
you
will
wanted.
organize
Yeah.
things. Yeah, I will do.
Hey, but so we can use Discord officially for GitLab Business. That's news to me.
I think as long there's no customer data here involved or anything else. This is just thing. I think Discord seems like an up and coming way to create a community around something. So I'm supportive if you want to use that.
No, there's actually already this is completely off topic, but there is a GitLab Discord channel or group, and it's full of GitLab gamers. So that's pretty active already. But anyway, I'll stop hijacking this meeting.
Cool. Well, Sri, awesome work. Thanks, Dimitri, for the presentation. This is way above where I expected it to be at this point. So really well done. Looking forward to next week.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.